Welcome everyone to SAP Integrated Business Planning training. This is Ravi Bhatt, and I have 15 years of experience in supply chain domain in SAP APO and SAP IBP. I work with several companies, and I would be walking you through how SAP Integrated Business Planning is integrated with S4HANA and how the different modules of SAP IBP are working hand in hand with each other. Now we will be walking ourselves through the presentation. First of all, we'll try to discuss what is the IBP overview. Then we'll come to supply chain control tower. We'll study what is sales and operations planning, the demand planning, and what is response and what is supply planning. Having said that, let's see what is SAP IBP. Any guesses? What does it mean? IBP stands for Integrated Business Planning, and in the backend, it is supported by S4HANA. So if I have to give an overview of SAP IBP, we have to understand that it is basically the modules called SAP Demand Planning. And here we do our demand sensing and our statistical forecasting. When we use the term inventory, SAP IBP inventory comes up with a multi-stage inventory optimization, where it decides the safety stock that is needed for the manufacturing units or the distribution centers that needs to be maintained. When we say sales and operations planning, it has a combined effect of the demand planning and the supply planning. Hence, we use the term strategic and tactical decision processes. Over here, we are integrated the demand planning as well as some features of supply planning to make it an integration feature called as SAP IBP Sales and Operations Planning. When we say SAP Supply Chain Control Tower, what do you mean by that? We have end-to-end visibility, we monitor, we alert whatever happens across the network and across the global supply chain. This is how the supply chain is integrated with each other. When we say a supply module of SAP IBP, what do you mean by that? It is nothing but your constraint planning or your unconstrained planning that happens during a supply planning run. We do our allocations, our order schedulings when we use the term response, which is nothing but our order-based planning. So this kind of features were actually available in SAP APO, Advanced Planning and Optimization. But over here, the advantage of using SAP IBP is we are going to actually have an S4 HANA as our database and the Excel book that we are going to use that is similar to our Excel. We can maintain our master data. We can actually play with our application jobs. We can create our favorites. We can create our new views just using the Excel sheet. And this is pretty user friendly. We can create our own scenarios. We can manage our scenarios. We can create our versions for our planning. So this is how we can manage our dashboards. If we have any alerts, we will be able to see it in this particular section. When we say SAP IBP, it is a simplified version of managing our supply chain management solution using our own Excel sheets. This can be handled via tablets, via mobile phones, or via normal laptops or iPads. This is how it is more simple. At the same time, we have offline mode of working. What do we mean by that? We did not have internet connection always. Sometimes what happens is like we can go to disconnect. We can disconnect our connection, still work on our Excel sheets, and later on we can go online, and then the data would be saved and uploaded into the HANA database. So when you're moving around, you're traveling, you can still work with your tablets, you can make the changes in your supply chain data, and that is how SAP IBP is integrated in the front end by the Excel sheets and in the back end by my Fiori apps, where we actually do our configurations. So this is something we say this is the overview of SAP IBP. Coming to the next slide, we are going to see what are the IBP features. So we have the user interface which is something called as Excel that we saw, and there is something called the Fiori apps. These Fiori apps are very simplified version of some kind of apps where we can create our purchase equations, we can do our demand planning, we can do a supply planning. Just at a click of that particular app, we can go to the configurations and maintain our planning areas and go to the depth and deep dive into the SAP IBP. When we say the landscape and installation is basically a cloud-based installation, we can play with our analytics, we can design our dashboards, we can do our graphs with a real-time integration. And when we say the data model, it is a unified data model across all the IBP modules, and we have very flexible data modeling and planning. This IBP is integrated with interfaces we call as CPIDS interfaces, which was earlier called as HCI. And we have SDI interface, smart data, where we are integrating our response planning or the order-based planning. We can do our collaboration among the planners using the SAP Jam. So this is how we are integrating several interfaces with our ECC using the interfaces of SDI, HCI, which has CPIDS interface, and using SAP Jam, we can collaborate among our planners. This is how the integrating effect works for a SAP IBP. In terms of our features and capabilities, we have wonderful statistical forecasting with a lot of wonderful algorithms. And we also have the demand sensing for our short-term planning. We have our optimizer planning, which is based on our cost. We have response planning, which is basically order-based planning. And we can also do our inventory optimization. So under one bucket, SAP Supply Chain IBP system provides a one-to solution for all the supply chain management um, ways, starting from demand forecasting till inventory optimization and going forward with your optimization planning and your response planning. And this is integrated with your ECC system as well as your S4 HANA. When we say the high level architecture, solution architecture, how does it look? So on the left hand side, you can see we have the ERP system, we have our APO, we have BW system, or any other system. It can be our flat file system as well. And on the right hand side, we see what we need to deliver to our business. It can be my sales and marketing, my demand planning, my finance, my supply chain, or the executors. So this is where the business sits. And here we have on the left hand side, we have our ERP systems and the APO systems and BW. Now in between, we have our web UI, okay, where the IBP module is actually designed. And the background, we can see SAP HANA. Okay, we can see SAP Jam, where we are doing our social collaboration. When we say IBP module and engine, it is associated with some of the configurations, which we call as attributes. We say they are the key figures. We say we create some scenarios. We do predictive analytics. We do heuristics and optimization. And we do our process flows and alerts. So this, all the integrated modules of IBP, we can see the dashboards over here, where we can actually see how the Excel planning has been done in a graphical way, in a graphical format. We can create our own dashboards, we can analyze, we can in the web, and this can be sent to several business users or a user group community, and they can get the alerts at one instant of time, which can be customized. At the same time, this is a particular, it's especially mobile, that you don't have to be dependent upon your computer. While you're traveling, you can get these reports on hand. You can create these reports, which are very simple and user friendly. So this is something which is business friendly, user friendly, which doesn't require a system or the internet connection. Still, you can work on it. And whenever you're ready with the data, you can just go ahead and press the save button. That will actually save your information or data into the HANA database. So that is how IBP has provided a very simplified version of supply chain management solution. So this particular slide shows you what is a dashboard. It shows you the jam collaboration and Excel sheet planning and the Fiori user interface. This is how we have shown in this particular slide the several key features, how IBP supports our jam dashboards. There's a Fiori which is run in the backend where we do our configurations. And the Excel sheet planning is always in the foreground where we are doing actually our planning. And business users can actually key in the values in the Excel sheets, and as simple as that. That's how the planning works end to end. Now let's see what is a supply chain control tower, which gives end-to-end visibility. And here we can monitor and do our alerting features. When we say supply chain control tower, it is something that is managing from a higher level across the globe, across the various systems that company owns. It gives an end-to-end visibility. Not only that, it helps reduce the supply chain cost. It gives you a supply network collaboration. It gives you the KPIs and the alerts that are present inside the system. And whom are we aiming at? We are aiming at our demand planners. We are aiming at our inventory, finance. We are aiming at our supply planning and sales and operation processes. So at a high level, we can monitor how the processes are working across the world for my particular company. At the same time, the various departments of the company, it's very transparent using the supply chain control tower where we can create our reports, we can create our dashboards, and practically we can see them in the system and share with the user community and the business groups. So this gives at a higher picture where we are actually controlling the entire world at a one glance and we are able to generate the reports. The reporting aspects which was earlier present in BW has been enhanced and brought into the SAP IBP module where we can play with our key figures like sales, your purchasing key figures, and then we are going to put this in our dashboards and analytics chart. And at the end of the day, when we say supply chain control tower, everything can be monitored from a top level. Now, the second module, when we say it is something called the sales and operations planning, where we do our strategic and the tactical decision processes. What do you mean by sales and operations planning and your strategic and tactical decision processes? When we say strategic, it is a long-term planning and tactical is the medium-term planning. So in this particular screenshot, you'll be able to see like it is again, once again process and it is focusing on our finance, it is focusing on our demand and inventory module. And we are going to see how we are designing our demand and supply and finance planning and the transparency within the company. Okay, the transparency is a very important word where we are actually integrating our demand managers, supply managers, finance managers, and across in one table, and everybody can see the things in one go. This is how the sales and operations planning drives the visibility and agility in terms of our tactical planning and execution. And this way, we are going to module a SAP IBP system. Normally, in the mid of the month, the supply chain managers sit together and they want all the information of all the departments together. The sales and operations planning is a wonderful tool where using the Excel sheets, whether it's a manufacturing department or the sales department or marketing or demand managers, they can show the data together in one table and they can take decisions what is the sales and plan for their particular month and how the operations are going to be handled based on their capacity planning. So this is something has been introduced by the sales and operations planning concept. Now, when we say the demand planning, how does it works? When you say the demand planning, it is basically aimed for your demand planners, it is aimed for your marketing and the sales and the finance department. At the same time, it does this traditional demand planning. When you say traditional demand planning, it is doing the mid and long-term forecasting. And when you say demand sensing, it is for the short-term planning or the short-term forecasting. Here we are doing a predictive or forecasting analytic techniques. Now, how does it help the company when in terms of demand? It has a lot of algorithms. Okay, it has gradient boosting algorithm. It has algorithms for the exponential smoothing. So the seasonality trends, everything is managed using the wonderful statistical models. And we can actually compare the outperformance of SAP IBP with SAP APU and see the forecasting models of SAP IBP demand is really wonderful and it does all the exposed forecast calculation and statistical calculations with enormous clarity and enormous understanding of the actual business processes. This is how it draws a line with other supply chain management solutions where we don't have such a robust statistical forecasting tools. But IBP Demand is such a robust tool which supports your accurate forecasting based on your historical data. And not only that, the life cycle planning is also supported by your demand planning as well as you can do your phase in, phase out your products. You can do your short-term demand sensing, which is not actually possible in other modules like APO. But demand sensing has been introduced in SAP IBP Demand, which is extensively used in some of the companies where they are focusing on the short-term forecasting. It has definitely improved the forecasting in terms of my demand when we are using such a specific Excel tool where business users can use the Excel sheets to do their demands and see the key figures and see the values and then accordingly take the actions. Now let's come to the inventory module. When we say the inventory module, It is again once again planned, and it is aimed at your supply planners and your inventory planners. And we do here multi-echelon inventory optimization. Here we are going to see how your demand after the demand planning, and when we want to release our demands to the supply, we want to ensure that accurate inventory is maintained across the global manufacturing units and the distribution centers. So we want our inventory values to be accurate so that our safety stocks are correct, and accordingly our supply planning results are accurate. So this is what we are trying to maximize the efficiency of our inventory, improve the customer service levels, and standardize the planning processes. And this is how it helps to improve our planner productivity. SAP Inventory is a module that has brought the world to understand like the stocks are very important in all across the globe. We have to maintain correct inventory levels if we want to correct supply planning. And SAP IBP Inventory is a perfect solution for maintaining perfect stock levels at different manufacturing units or distribution centers or hub or the spoke locations. Now we come to the last module of SAP IBP, which is SAP IBP Response and Supply. And where here we are seeing how we are going to actually handle our backorder processing using the response management. Earlier we had a module called APO CTM capable to match, which was nothing but our priority based planning, where we used to do our priorities. But now using the SAP IBP response module, the similar features have been introduced over here where we are doing our response, and here we are focusing on our supply planning, which is more kind of order-based planning. When I use the term supply, it's something called the time series based planning. And over here, we understand like it just gives you the heuristics and optimizer kind of support. What do we mean by heuristics? Heuristics planning is some planning where we are doing unconstrained planning. We are not focusing on the constraints, and we can do our finite heuristics planning as well. But when we see the optimizer planning, we are trying to optimize. We are putting the cost factors. We are dividing the non-delivery cost or the delay penalty cost, and accordingly, we are designing the solutions for IBP in terms of my supply planning. But the only difference between response and supply is that in the response, we are doing order-based planning where we can actually see the order numbers and it is integrated with my ECC or our S4 HANA system. But in terms of supply planning, this is just time series. We'll not be able to see our order numbers. We are not going to see any kind of purchase equation numbers which are actually in ECC because this is purely a time series based planning. So this is how SAP has designed your response planning and supply. We are also going to have some kind of deployment features that we had in APO, where we are going to deploy our stocks from the manufacturing units to our distribution centers using the response module. And the supply planning will just support your heuristics and optimizer. Response module also supports your heuristics and optimizer. In addition, response module does the priority based planning, which was normally done by APO CTM module. So this is how we can understand SAP IBP is quite a wonderful module where we are comprising our demand, our supply, our response, our inventory, and everything is integrated under one umbrella, which we call as SAP Integrated Planning that is powered by S4 HANA. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, just a quick info. ZaranTech offers trainings for SAP Integrated Business Planning, also known as SAP IBP. This course teaches professionals how to leverage the supply chain planning capabilities of the SAP IBP modules and integrate them into an end to end planning processes. Thousands have already used this program to advance their SAP careers, like those who have shared their success stories in ZaranTech testimonial platform. In just a few weeks, you can gain the knowledge needed to implement the key IBP functionalities like demand planning, supply planning, and sales and operation planning. This can be an open door to the new job opportunities and help you excel in your current role. Visit the link below to learn more about the SAP IBP course. Getting started now is a smart first step for anyone interested in SAP supply chain management and advancing their skills or career.